Hello and welcome to this video where we're going to be looking at how you solve quadratic simultaneous equations. Now if you look at the example I have up on the screen here, this first equation at the top, this is the quadratic because this is the one that has an x squared in it. And what we're going to do with these kinds of equations is we're going to try to substitute to get a quadratic equation that we can then solve. So in this case, we actually have them both equal to y. You can see that y is the subject in both cases. So that means that y is equal to this and also y is equal to this. And so what that means is that I can just go and set those two things equal to each other because they are both y. So we have x squared plus x minus 2 is equal to 2x plus 4. Now to solve this, I want to get everything onto one side of the equals and get it all equal to 0. So I'm going to keep the x squared where it is. I'm going to take this 2x here onto the other side. So I have plus x minus 2x, which is going to be minus x. And then I'm going to do the same with the 4. So let's take minus 4 onto the other side. So negative 2 minus 4 is minus 6. And now this is all equal to 0 because I've subtracted this and I've subtracted this. Once you've got everything onto the one side of the equation, now we can very easily solve this quadratic. There are a few different methods for doing this. So lots of calculators will solve this for you. However, if you were given this question in an exam, most likely they're going to ask you to use algebraic methods, in which case you do need to either factorize or use the quadratic formula. I will go ahead and factorize. So to factorize, I'm looking for two things that multiply to give negative 6 and add to give that negative 1 there. And those two things are x minus 3 and also plus 2. So minus 3 times positive 2 is negative 6, and minus 3 plus 2 is negative 1. So this is all equal to 0. Now in this case, because I've got x minus 3 times x plus 2 is 0, either this must be equal to 0 or this must be equal to 0. So in the case that x minus 3 is equal to 0, I can solve that and I get x is equal to 3. Or I have a second solution, x plus 2 is equal to 0, in which case x is negative 2. Once you've got the two x solutions, you're going to go ahead and substitute each of these into either of the two equations at the top so you can find y. Now I'll choose the second. It makes more sense to use the linear function. It's going to be easier. So we're going to put 3 in there. So in that case, I have y is equal to 6 plus 4, or y is equal to 10. And then if I go ahead and try the second one, so I'm going to put minus 2 in here now, we have y is equal to negative 4 plus 4, or y is equal to 0. So these are the two pairs of solutions. You have x is 3, y is 10, or you have x is negative 2, y is 0. Now you'll see here on the other side of the screen, we have a similar problem that you can have a go at to solve. So grab yourself a pen and paper, pause the video and see if you can work through step by step as I have done. Okay, so if you've had a go at that, what you should have done is something like this. You set these two functions equal to each other. Then you have a quadratic just in x, get everything onto one side of the equals and solve, and you should get x is 2, x is 3. You're going to substitute the 2 in here, and you will get y negative 4. And then you will substitute the 3 in here to get y negative 2. Well done if you managed to get to the answer. If you didn't quite manage it, then feel free to pause the video again, have a read through of the solution. Now, moving on to our next problem here. So in this case, we're going to have to substitute. What you need to do is to leave the quadratic equation, the one at the top, as it is. And then we're going to take this and we're going to put the linear equation in there. So you can see I've got y is equal to x plus 5. So I can replace this y here with x plus 5. So let's go ahead and do that. The x squared remains the same, plus, and then I want to add on y squared. So this is going to be x plus 5 all squared is equal to 17. And be careful there to put the x plus 5 in brackets because we do need to square the whole thing. And so in doing that, x plus 5 squared is actually going to be x plus 5 times x plus 5. So we're going to need to expand these brackets here. And when you expand that, you're going to get x squared plus 10x plus 25. So let's go ahead and do that now. We have x squared, expanding those brackets. I have x squared plus 10x plus 25 is all equal to 17. Now we need to go ahead and simplify a little bit, so I can collect together these two x squareds. X squared plus x squared is 2x squared. The 10x is just going to remain as it is. And then I'm also going to take this 17 on to the other side and subtract 17. So 25 minus 17 is 8. And now this is all equal to 0. Now once we've got this into a quadratic form again we need to go ahead and solve it. I will factorize. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the AC method. I'm going to take this value here A and multiply it by this value here C. So 2 times 8 is 16. Now I'm looking for two numbers that multiply to give 16 and add to give 10. And so that is going to be 2 times 8. Now, unfortunately, I can't go ahead and put it straight into brackets just yet. What I need to do is split this 10x up into two parts. And this is why I did this. I'm going to choose to split 10x up into 2x plus 8x. So once you've split the 10x up, these numbers here are going to remain the same. We're not doing anything with those. We have 2x squared plus 2x plus 10x plus 2x plus 8x, which was the 10x, plus 8 is all equal to 0. Now, last step is to factorize these, and I'm going to factorize this and this separately. So looking at those first two terms, I can take 2x out the front, so then this is going to be x plus 1. And then looking at these second two terms, I can factorize 8 out of both of those, and so it's going to be 8x plus 1 here. This is all equal to 0. Now these two things are what form the brackets. So one bracket is going to be 2x plus 8, and then the other bracket is going to be this thing that is common to both terms, the x plus 1. And this is all equal to 0. Now, same as before, I have either this is equal to 0 or this is equal to 0. If this is equal to 0, then I have 2x plus 8 is 0. And solving that, we will have 2x is negative 8, x is negative 4. Or I have a second solution, x plus 1 is 0, in which case x is negative 1. And again, I'm going to substitute each of these back into the equation at the top of the slide. So if x is minus 4, I'm going to put that into here, negative 4. So if x is minus 4, we have y is minus 4 plus 5, so therefore y is 1. And then if x is negative 1, I'm going to have minus 1 plus 5, in which case y is 4. And so these are the two pairs of solutions now. We have x is minus 4 and y is 1. Or I have x is minus 1 and y is 4. Again, I have another problem here, so if you do want to have a try at a similar question yourself, pause the video, have a go, and then we'll look at the solution. Okay, so here's the answer. What you should have done is taken the 2x plus 5, that is y, and we're going to substitute that in here instead of y. You end up with this thing. You must expand this bracket, collect everything together, solve the quadratic equation, and you'll get a x equals 0 and x is minus 4. Once you have the two x values, you substitute them in turn into this x here. And when you put 0 in there, you will get y is 5. And when you put negative 4 in there, you will get y is minus 3. Same as before. If you do want to, if you didn't get the right solution and you want to just pause the video and have a read through of that, then feel free. And then we'll move on to the last problem. Okay, so here's our last question. This is the final question of the video. So if you would like to push yourself and you would like a challenge, then feel free to pause again and see if you can try this one. And we'll go through it together step by step. Okay, so for this one, we don't have the linear equation as being x is equal to or y is equal to, so we need to rearrange this. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick up this 2y and put it on the other side like so. So we're going to have x is equal to 3 plus 2y. Now once I've got that, I'm going to substitute this value of x into the quadratic equation. So this x needs to go in two places. We have x here and we have x here. So both of those need to be replaced with 3 plus 2y, so that I just have an equation that is in y with no x. So x squared is now going to be 3 plus 2y squared. The y squared is just going to stay as it is, so that's minus y squared. And then this 2x is going to become 2 times x, which is 3 plus 2y, and this is all equal to 10. Now I have a little bit of algebra to do, so I'm going to expand this first bracket here. So this is going to be 9 plus 12y plus 4y squared. This minus y squared, we're not going to do anything with that just yet, so I'm going to leave it here, minus y squared. And then I'm going to expand out this bracket like so. So this is plus 6 plus 4y, and it's still equal to 10. Now let's tidy everything up and collect together all the terms. So I have 4y squared minus y squared. This is 3y squared. I have 12y plus 4y. That's 16y. I have 9 plus 6, which is plus 15. And this is equal to 10. Now again, because it's a quadratic, in order to solve it, I need to get everything onto one side of the equation. So I'm going to leave this where it is, I'm going to leave the 16y where it is, and I'm just going to subtract 10 onto the other side. So 15 minus 10 is 5. Now it's all equal to 0. Now the same as before, we need to try and solve this quadratic. To do that, I'm going to factorize it. So I'm going to take the 3 and the 5, multiply them together. AC is 15. Now I'm looking for two numbers that multiply to give 15 and add to give 16. So that's 1 times 15. And so we're going to split this 16y up into y plus 15y. So I have 3y squared plus y plus 15y plus 5 is equal to, that should be 0, is equal to 0. And now I'm going to factorize the first two terms. So this is going to be, we can take y outside the bracket, so we're going to have 3y plus 1. And then here, these second two terms, I can factorize out 5. So I'm going to have 5, and then again 3y plus 1. All of this now is equal to 0. So the two brackets become y plus 5, and also 3y plus 1 is equal to 0. So now we have two different solutions here. I have either y plus 5 is 0, in which case y is going to be negative 5, or we have the case that 3y plus 1 is 0, in which case 3y is negative 1 and y is negative 1 over 3. So these are the two solutions in y. We have y minus 5 and y minus the third. And so for each of these cases, I'm going to substitute back into this equation here. So first of all, I'm going to put in minus 5. And if you put in y is negative 5 into that equation, you are going to have x plus 10 is equal to 3, in which case x is going to be negative 7. And then if I go ahead and substitute in the other value, I have y is minus 1/3. And so substituting that in, we now have x is minus 2y. So it's going to be x plus 2 over 3 is equal to 3. And then if I solve that by subtracting 2 over 3 from both sides, I'm going to have x is equal to 7 over 3. And so these are the two pairs of solutions now. We have y is minus 5, x is negative 7, or y is negative 1/3, x is 7 over 3. And that is done. So well done if you got all the way through that. Well done if you got the correct answers there. And I hope you all have a great day.